Jerome Powell has spoken. 0 new jobs were added in the past 6 months, and there has been 0 growth in the labor force. Gee, I wonder why. Despite the widespread and shittification of everything, the US stock market appears to be chugging along reasonably well. But the stock market isn't the whole story, and anyone with a pulse can feel that something ain't right. And how can they not feel that? Everything costs 5 times more than it used to, and those Wendy's paychecks aren't getting any fatter. Things didn't always used to be this way. In the medieval 90s, things were so good that if you had a roommate, people used to think you were gay. Now everyone thinks you're gay because you haven't liked this video and subscribed to the cult of the almighty dollar. So since we're on the topic, go ahead and do that. Anyway, job creation in the US has slowed significantly to essentially 0, according to Fed Chair Jerome Powell. J. Powell said, and I quote, "The thing that I think a good number of people on the committee are concerned about is just the very, very low level of job creation. Effectively, there's 0 net job creation in the private sector after accounting for revisions over the past 6 months. But actually, that looks like that's about what the economy needs in terms of dealing with the very, very low, non-existent really, growth in the labor force. Which, of course, we've never had in our history. I mean, you guys know Jerome Powell's temperament is super measured. This is like him screaming run for your life from the rooftops. He's being very polite here, for obvious reasons. He doesn't want to piss anyone off. I mean, I don't know why it even matters at this point. He's already under investigation for some fake nonsense that won't go anywhere. So the country may not need as many jobs as it once did due to lower labor force participation and immigration declines. But Powell also said that labor demand has clearly softened as well. Again, none of this is good, and given the fact that we're about to YOLO another gajillion dollars into yet another endless war with no clear objective when we're still paying the interest for our previous dumbass wars, it's safe to say that things aren't gonna get better for the noble American degenerate serf anytime soon. This is all very unfortunate because of how honestly unnecessary it all is. We're about to repeat history because no one in Trump's cabinet knows how to read. I think that's why they got voted in. Anyway, if those depressing labor force and employment numbers are getting you down, not to worry, because soon Trump will replace J. Powell with Fed Chair wacky waving inflatable arms tube man, and he'll share the correct numbers. Numbers that make us feel good about ourselves and where we're headed as a country. So broadly, things are not going great. I think that's a fair statement. Humanity is in a tailspin, and the negative impacts of that will of course balloon our debt to the point where Americans can look forward to an eternity of serfdom to pay off Pete Hegseth's bar tab and for the military-industrial complex. But at least the stock market's doing good, right? Well, kinda, although it may not be the best time to invest. If you look at the price to earnings of the S&P 500, you can see we're currently trading at 28 times earnings. Definitely on the high side historically. But pointless wars and bad economic indicators aren't anything new. There's something else unique about the situation we are in today. The SPY has never been this top-heavy, not in the dot-com bubble or any time prior to that. Today, just 7 companies make up 35% of the market cap of the S&P 500, and that is unprecedented. I heard someone describe our economy as 100 tech bros sending checks back and forth to each other. I thought that was pretty funny. But in addition to all this, a good chunk of our GDP is pretty much basically due to AI. You see, teenagers making racist SpongeBob AI slop videos on TikTok have caused business leaders, as well as mentally unstable LinkedIn thought leaders, to mistakenly believe that this shit adds any real value to society. And as a result, they've been busy signing $100 billion contracts back and forth with each other, with no real objective other than signaling to investors that a breakthrough is just around the corner. By the way, does anyone know what the present value of $1 trillion payment is in today's dollars 20 years from now? Assuming the air becomes unbreathable in 15 years? I'm asking for a friend. Relax, guys, I'm kidding. It's all just jokes. Look, AI is fine, I guess. I unfortunately use it for various things. But overall, I can take it or leave it because I still have a functioning brain, and I'm still more or less able to wipe my own ass, figuratively speaking. Look, what I'm trying to say in a really roundabout way is that I think we all need to collectively wake up and smell the Kool-Aid. And sometimes, looking at dry numbers and corporate valuations can help us do that. We also have to talk about the elephant in the room.
I'm gonna come.
We're doing everything in our power to destroy our own economy, nuke jobs, and make it harder for companies to plan their supply chains. Some of you must be asking why. Why would the leaders of a country fuck shit up this hard? Many volumes have been written on that subject, and this is not exactly a political channel, but I will summarize the hundreds of thousands of hours of commentary readily available on the subject. They are fucking shit up just for the love of the game, my friends. It doesn't really go any deeper than that. Everyone knows businesses like predictability, but predictability is clearly not the word of the day around here, and hasn't been for some time. The only thing anyone can reliably predict is that every 3 or 4 days, someone will make a decision that is so incredibly stupid that it leaves us all dumbfounded, mouths agape, unable to process the depths of ignorance that brought us to this moment. That will basically go on forever, or until the world's hardest working cankles send dear leader back to white heaven. Look, I'm not even against strategic tariffs, for example, to support local industries and things of that nature, but you all see what's going on. Slapping 15% tariffs across the board isn't strategic. Starting a pointless war that shuts down global shipping isn't strategic. But in Trump's defense, Pete Hegseth was completely shit-faced when he made the idea to do more forever war. And, who among us wouldn't have done the same thing, am I right? Alright, so let's bring this back to stocks, because I guess that's why you're here, maybe. I don't know. Things in the stock market may look fine now, but this vibes-based approach to tariffs and diplomacy isn't good for the stock market. Not in the long term. And by extension, what is bad for the stock market is not good for us broadly as Americans. Because what are we if not an extension of the stock market? Inputs into the great machine that turns human ingenuity and vast amounts of underpaid workers into never-before-seen levels of shareholder value. I've said this before, but you can look at a country's GDP as a derivative of the human spirit. And the spirit is hurting, folks. I don't know how else to say it, but maybe we can turn it around, because we all know that when the stock market is doing good, that means everything is doing good. And that there are no reasons to be concerned about anything at all whatsoever, and who said there was? So how does this all end? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if the stock market flattens out a bit, or dips in the short term. Although I have it on good authority that nothing ever happens, I'm finding that harder and harder to believe over time. It's becoming hard to remain optimistic. Buy the S&P is a pretty much universally accepted truism, because it's like that one smart money guy once said. Far more money's been lost by investors preparing for corrections or trying to anticipate corrections than has been lost in the actual corrections. I guess for most people the question really is, what's the alternative? Some people like stocks, some people like real estate, some people like funny internet money, and some like more tangible things like Pokemon cards. So tell me, what's your favorite way to make money without doing real work? I'm curious to see what we come up with here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.